Another day, another reaction to woke TikToks. Let's get into it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Okay, guys, I'm not even gonna make you wait. Let's watch TikTok number one. So this TikTok says pride flag makes sense for math.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a high school math teacher and I have a pride flag in my classroom. My job is to teach students math, but it's significantly more than just that. Some of the students that I teach might not have liked their previous math teachers, might not know how to learn math, may have never even passed a math class before. So much of my job is building an atmosphere and a persona that the students feel comfortable learning from me. Because with everyone, especially high school students, learning is scary. Failure is tough, and failure is required to learn. I'm asking my students to be vulnerable with their failures. And in order for them to be vulnerable, they have to feel safe. The pride flag is one of the many ways that I show my kids, regardless of who they are, that you are safe in my class. That no matter who you are, who you love, where you come from, you're welcome here. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. Not your job. It's actually not your job. Your job is to literally teach math to children. Now, we could argue that you need to create a comfortable environment for kids to learn math and, of course, for kids to fail. But that is not necessitating that you put up a pride flag to show kids that all of them are welcome. And what about the kids whose backgrounds or beliefs don't necessitate belief in a transgender identity? Do they feel comfortable with your pride flags and the different LGBTQ paraphernalia that you're wearing on yourself? I don't think so. I think you should stick to math, and I think you can make kids feel comfortable with failure, with expressing themselves, with trying new things, with doing something that they're not used to, without showing your political messaging in the classroom. It's as simple as that. I think I say this a lot when we react to teaching videos, but when I was in school, you didn't know much about your teachers. Of course, they had a family photo, maybe here and there. You'd learn what their hobbies were, or you get a little bit of personal information from your teacher and feel like, oh my gosh, this individual is a real person. But when I went out to like a grocery store or say a restaurant and you saw a teacher outside of school, you're sort of shocked to see this person who really only exists in an educational setting showing up in real life. And of course, that doesn't mean that teachers don't share anything about themselves. It's just to say, maybe we keep that wall that exists between students and teachers when it comes to personal information there. They don't need to know everything about your identity. They don't need to know everything about your politics. And it seems like this person is trying to come up with a reasonable explanation and justification as to why they feel the need to inject their personal agenda into the classroom. Now they're saying this justification is that we must show kids that they can fail and that this is a safe environment. But let's be honest, you just want to let the children know your political beliefs and you want them to know your identity. I guess we're sticking in the vein of education. We have a bunch of graduates in this TikTok.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm graduating from NYU Gallatin, and my concentration is economic inequality in the U.S. and Caribbean.
Period. Hey, my name is Nayeli. I'm from Gallatin, and my concentration is spiritual healing. Period.
Hi, my name is Eliel, and I concentrated in Black storytelling.
Hey, my name is Gabby. My concentration is called Exploring Colonialism and Sustainable Economic Development.
Period.
I'm Alexia, and my concentration is creativity as communication, how the arts act as a language outside of verbal communication, period.
Okay, so we have a bunch of graduates here. And you know what? I don't want to hate on somebody who's trying to get their education. I don't want to hate on somebody who has a special interest. But so far, we heard about what? They're studying colonialism in the economy. They're studying spiritual healing. This person's studying creativity as communication. Mind you, these are hobbies. In my opinion, these are hobbies. Okay, these are passion projects. Yet you're graduating from college with these degrees. And when you see, I don't know how inflated the higher education system is, and you see these young people who are going in with, of course, little special interests in getting their education, and of course you should be pursuing education with things that you're interested in, but when you're walking out and it doesn't sound like your degree is a degree, what are we gonna do? How does this translate into the real world? And I am curious, if you guys have answers or you have degrees similar to the ones expressed in this video, where did that take you when you exited out of the university system and into the world? And what jobs are you now taking on? Because this does not sound right to me. And let's be honest, most of these degrees do sound like sort of social justice degrees. We're focusing on colonialism and Black storytelling and the relationship between the US and the Caribbean, and you know where that's all going to lead. And in this video, you're seeing Black graduates, and specifically Black female graduates, who seem like they're just further being ushered down the path of this whole like race-baited conversation about Blackness and Black storytelling and colonialism. And that seems to be one of the major purposes of higher education these days, which is just making people woker. I don't know, teaching more leftist ideology than any other ideology before. And when you look into the stats on US universities about making conservatives feel comfortable, or whether or not they're capable of having conservative speakers or they feel comfortable with that, if you look at the stats on free speech on some of these university campuses, it becomes a really concerning conversation. And of course, this is all in good fun, and I'm sure they're happy with their graduation status and their fields of study. But when we sort of zoom out and look at this from a bird's eye view, it's not good. Our higher education system is not doing well. It's not producing good results, and it's not teaching good ideology, it seems. Can't speak to their specific degrees, but nonetheless, the problem exists. Let's get into this next one. This is a woman who apparently has put her bookstore opening plans on hold.
If Kamala had been elected, I was going to try to open a bookstore this year. I was going to think about having a kid this year. I was going to grow my writing business this year. And instead, I spent yesterday afternoon at a meeting where we were talking about how to protect people who are being disappeared off the streets of our communities. And I'm spending this afternoon going downtown and just holding up a sign demanding that Abrego Garcia be brought home. I will never not be angry at the people who did this to us.
So mind you, let's unpack what we just heard from this woman. You know, she said if Kamala had won this last election, she'd be opening a bookstore. She'd be following her passion projects. She'd be doing things that she feels actually enrich her life. Like, I don't know, having a child with presumably somebody that she loves. But because the politician that she does not like lost an election, she's going to put the things she wants to do in life on hold so that she can start fighting political battles. And the way that she's fighting political battles is by having meetings with her fellow comrades, I guess, and going on the streets to hold up a sign about bringing Abrego Garcia, which is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, home. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia story, this guy's an MS-13 gang member. You guys know MS-13, you know, the super violent gang. Okay, so he has MS-13, I believe, tattooed on, you know, his knuckles or his hand or his fingers somewhere. And he ended up getting deported. Okay. And if you look up Kilmar Abrego Garcia, you're going to see it confirmed that not only is he a member of the MS-13 gang, but he also has a vast history of violence, of committing acts of violence. So this woman, who I guess could be opening up her own bookstore, could be, you know, being in love with her significant other, could be having a child, because Kamala Harris did not win the last election. She is going to fight for a violent criminal to have his deportation, I guess, canceled and have him brought back to the United States of America. And she's having meetings about protecting illegal immigrants from ICE. I mean, we all choose our own paths, and that's okay. But I would go ahead and like to let her know, you know, the world is not always in its best shape. The world is not always doing what we want it to be doing, but we can still hopefully follow things and do things that fulfill us in life. And if that for her is opening up a bookstore, she should probably try to do that. And if you want to go and have a child with somebody who you love, maybe you should focus on that. Okay. There's this sort of left-leaning belief or practice of just abandoning all things that could be making you happy in life for the sake of talking about oppression, of meeting about oppression, of holding signs up about oppression. And I found that when I was leftist myself, I was actually looking at happy moments in my life and completely disregarding them for the sake of feeling oppressed. Because you can't let go of the narrative of oppression. You can't let go of the narrative of racial injustice or sexism. So instead of actually seeking out things in life that can make you feel fulfilled, that can make you feel happy, that can make you feel content, you actually just bulldoze over those things for the sake of applying your own narrative to the reality that you're living in. And that unfortunately seems to be what this young girl is doing. I don't know what's stopping her from opening up her bookstore or having a child, but apparently it's Donald J. Trump. Now, speaking of Donald J. Trump, this next one is a video from the Chicago Marathon. And you're going to see an interesting activity that people are engaging in as they run by. Let's run the clip. Okay, so for those of you who cannot see that, there are marathon runners, and a guy on the sidelines is holding up a sign that says "Punch Trump" with a pillow of Donald Trump beneath it. And the marathon runners are punching Donald Trump's face as they run past. And if that isn't an example of at least leftist violence symbolized, I don't know what is. And think about this. This again is another example of people taking a moment that could lead to contentment, to happiness, and then choosing to just inject their political ideology into everything. You are in Chicago, you're running a marathon. This is an amazing physical feat. And instead of choosing this moment to, I don't know, be passionate, be happy, to enjoy what your body is capable of doing, you are punching a pillow of Donald Trump as you run past it. And this guy, okay, has taken time out of his day today, or woman, whoever this may be, to make a sign that says "Punch Trump," to attach a pillow to it, which means you had to buy a pillow of Donald Trump. You had to support somebody's Donald Trump merch business in order to create this sign. And now you're going to a marathon and holding up this sign for what, hours on end, so that you can have people punch the current president in the face in pillow form. It's pathetic. It's a little pathetic. Just a wee large bit. Pathetic. And of course, with this video, we're having a lot of conversations about political violence, specifically political violence as it pertains to the left. In the wake of what's happened to Charlie Kirk, in the wake of what's happened at the CBS satellite office, there was a shooting there when a left-leaning individual went to shoot ICE employees and ended up shooting illegal immigrants, which is an absolutely insane story. And when you see a video like this, you may want to shrug it off and be like, okay, well, these are just people who are punching a pillow attached to a sign, but it is indicative of what people are in support of. And if you can so flippantly do this at a Chicago marathon or at any other venue, what happens when somebody commits a real act of political violence against somebody like Donald Trump, like Charlie Kirk, like the ICE employees, and where he unfortunately ended up taking the lives of illegal immigrants? It's just a total mess. But it goes to show that there are people in this country just running around who are actively promoting and encouraging political violence in small ways like this, and in larger ways like actual acts of heinous political violence. So it's not something to just overlook, and it's certainly not something to be laughing at like the people in this video are doing. Now, this next video says, "When people misgender my son." And I believe the son is actually a daughter, and it seems like a young kid. And let's watch.
I just think he. Right. Well, he. Well, he. His pronouns are he, him. Now, are you going to respect that, or is this they, them going to turn you into a were, was?
Now, she says, well, of course, she's lip syncing. Now, his pronouns are he, him. Are you going to respect that, or is this they, them going to turn you into a we, were? So now this individual is saying, my daughter is actually a boy. So you're going to call my she, her, a he, him. I am actually a they, them. She's personally identifying herself as a non-binary. And then saying, if you disrespect the chosen pronouns of my small daughter, we're going to turn you into a we, were, which is, again, another encouragement of political violence against an individual because they said the wrong pronouns, the wrong chosen pronouns for your daughter, not your son. It is your daughter. So to film something like this as a mother with your kid is concerning. That is a very strange thing to do. Not only are you affirming, in my opinion, something that is not in line with reality for your daughter, who is clearly going through a confusing time in life, who is clearly experiencing probably a lot of mental anguish, a lot of mental confusion in regard to gender, and is going through gender dysphoria, or, has had gender dysphoria thrust upon her. But as a mother, you are also teaching your child that if somebody uses the wrong words around your child, that this is an act of violence against your child, and that your child should respond in kind with violence, turning them into a we, were, which essentially means if you call my child by the wrong pronouns, you deserve to die. And again, we're having conversations about political violence, and here is yet another example of just a sort of tacit encouragement or acceptance of political violence. And here's where we get into an interesting realm of this conversation when it comes to political violence, because the left says that words are violent, meaning if you use the wrong pronouns, if you call somebody something that they don't want to be called, you are committing an act of violence. But also your silence is apparently violence, meaning if you don't say something, if you don't advocate for somebody, you are complicit in an act of violence. Yet here they are advocating for legitimate violence, death, punching Donald Trump in the face, advocating for what happened to Charlie Kirk in their own videos. Okay, so there's clearly some confusion as to what actual violence is, what actual violence looks like and feels like, and yet anything that happens against them is an act of violence. Are we confused yet? Because I am, and I'm over it. Well, guys, that was our last TikTok. I don't know how I feel after doing these. Every single time I do them, I am confused, yet enlightened. And maybe you feel the same way, but it is always fun to at least know that I think there's a kindred spirit across from the screen right now who's listening to this and is feeling just as confused as I am. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts on these videos in the comments down below. I always love to hear your responses. If you disagree with anything I said in this video, duke it out in the comments down below, but do so respectfully. We encourage healthy debate on this channel. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better.